Did tweets by several sitting members of Congress endanger the life of the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy this weekend? These are the tweets from Senators Marco Rubio of Florida and Steve Daines of Montana, sent out during a Zoom call Saturday with President Zelenskyy, both sharing screen grabs of the Zoom in real time. Now, to the untrained eye, at least, the photo simply shows Zelenskyy against a white background, the blue and yellow of the Ukrainian flag beside him, dressed in army green. But it turns out they had all been specifically asked by the Ukrainian ambassador not to share images for Zelenskyy's security. And after the call, almost half a dozen other U.S. officials from both sides of the aisle tweeted out screen grabs of Zelenskyy as he made his emotional plea for a no-fly zone and more sanctions. This list included Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, tweeting, "Joined a Zoom meeting with President Zelenskyy. We don't have a minute to waste in helping Ukraine fight off Putin, who's killing innocent people to benefit his own ego." This tweet from Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut was posted about 5 minutes after the call ended. Rubio, a ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, defended his tweet while making the rounds on the Sunday morning talk shows. He spoke to CNN's Jake Tapper.
You tweeted a photo of Zelenskyy during the virtual meeting. Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips said that the Ukrainian ambassador had explicitly asked lawmakers not to share anything on social media until after the meeting ended, just for Zelenskyy's security. Is that true? Was it a mistake for you to tweet that picture?
Well, first of all, she asked that like 30 minutes into the call after I had already done it. The second is I think she's under the impression that no one knew that call was happening. That call had been widely reported. Actually, the specific time had been reported. There were over 300 people on it. All the call details had been emailed. So there was nothing secure about that call. And the picture is just a nondescript picture. It looks just like every of the other ones that you've seen out there publicly. So there's no risk posed, but you're always going to have a couple of people that want their name in an article somewhere and mentioned in the press. So,
in a statement to our show, a spokesperson for Senator Daines echoed much of what Rubio said. Quote, "This was a well-reported call with over 250 people joining, and it was not a secure classified briefing. The photo was shared before it was requested not to and well into the call, and it had no identifying information. We should be focusing on what's important here, and that's supporting Ukraine. The only reason why anyone wants to make this as an issue is partisan clickbait." Well, not sure how it's partisan if members of both parties did it. But I'll admit, I don't know if this is a big deal or not. But when I heard it and that this was in real time, I was concerned. Now remember, Ukrainian officials say they've foiled 3 assassination attempts already against Zelenskyy since Russia first invaded. But what I don't really know is, are the people who are really going crazy over this actually overstating the danger the photos pose? What kind of information can be gleaned by Russia from those seemingly nondescript photos? Joining me now is Jason Blazakis. He's a former counterterrorism and intelligence official with the U.S. State Department. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, let me ask you just your first thoughts of those screen grabs. Dangerous, big deal. What should we make of it?
So it's a deal. How big of a deal? It's an open question. As I looked at these images, I thought a few things, just like you said, Dan, up top. These were being tweeted in real time. The second thing is, in terms of the platform, Zoom's not the most secure platform. We all are aware during COVID, there have been a number of Zoom bombings, kind of on the innocuous, joking side of things on one hand. But Zoom is also known, if you're able to be a sophisticated hacker, you can break in and figure out someone's IP address. We can give you some kind of geolocational information regarding the individuals who are on the actual platform. Now, may not give you the precise location of the individual if Russian hackers, were going in there. And because they tweeted this out live, it gives them a prompt. So, he's on live right now. Let's go check out Zoom. Let's see if we can hack into it and figure out his IP address. And you couple that and corroborate with other information that the Russians may have, because he is a high-value target, and they're trying to collect as much information about him as possible. That could put him at risk. And I would just say, putting himself at risk is one thing, but having others who are his allies putting him at risk is quite another. Rubio's comments regarding the actual background itself, it is anodyne. You see the flag, you see the brown chair, you see the desk, you see the papers. But you can reverse image search those. Has that been a place where he's spoken before? Can you go online and find this area in which he's speaking and then figure out the location if it was publicly noted when he spoke from it previously? So there is a level of risk there that we just can't ignore.
But I would think, and again, now I'm in the land of pure speculation, but I would think, knowing that there have already been 3 assassination attempts, knowing that it's going to be 250 to 300 people on the call, that he probably wouldn't go back to the exact same place with the exact same furniture that he had been before, correct?
You would hope so, but you've seen him recently on Instagram, just today, and then prior to that, posing in front of the iconic Gorodetsky building, showing where his location is. So he's been out there very publicly in the past. So there is that risk. He's taking on a high level of risk. He's being somewhat cavalier about his operational and communication security, and that worries me a lot.
Well, I think part of what he's trying to do, right, is assure people that he hasn't left, because that's what the Russians want people to believe. And so he's trying to go to locations that are identifiable and have some sort of proof that he was there at a particular time, right, to be able to say, I'm here and I haven't gone.
Oh, absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. And in a lot of ways, it's like Churchill during the Second World War, where he's trying to get the public to support him during the horrific blitz of over 50 days that Churchill and Londoners and everybody in the United Kingdom faced. That same kind of scenario is happening with the president of Ukraine right now. And he needs to show strength. And I think he's really also juxtaposing his strength by showing where he is right now in the thick of things in Kyiv, and juxtaposing that with Putin, who we have no idea where Putin is at any given moment. And I think he's trying to show that there is this stark difference. But it is a double-edged sword. It puts him more at risk. Like you said up top, he's been allegedly targeted for assassination 3 times, 2 of which by the private military company, the Wagner Group. But it's a dance he has to dance. Yeah. But he's the one that should make the decision on whether or not he puts his life at risk, as opposed to senators and members of Congress.
Yep, absolutely. And I have to say, your point about the IP address is something I hadn't thought of. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.